Once upon a time, a girl named Felicity and a boy named Peter bought an abandoned 1830s farmhouse in New York. It is now Wednesday, September 25th, 2024, and progress is happening. Quite a lot of progress, actually, at the house today. I want to start with the most exciting thing, which is a discovery we made in the kitchen, and then we're also going to talk about a couple of other kitchen discoveries. There's a huge update on the progress of the septic system, which is way more fun than I ever thought it was going to be. And a surprise, they've started working on the bathroom. So I'm going to give you guys a quick tour of what the bathroom looks like at the moment, and then we will finish with a couple of shots of where the French drain is going to go in the front yard. So let's get started. If you have been following the previous videos, you'll know that we've been making some discoveries in the kitchen, and the discoveries continue with a discovery about the floor. So this is the underfloor of the kitchen. This is actually pretty exciting. So there was a bubble here when you walked in from the mudroom door. You felt a hump underneath your feet here, and you can actually see that hump is along the seam here. The seam had basically bubbled up and needed to be redone. So they've taken out a chunk of the linoleum. The linoleum is on top of 1/2-inch plywood, and then this is the floor that's underneath it. Now this floor, we believe, is from the 1950s. And what I find interesting about this floor is, to me, this looks very much like an outside porch floor color, right? I guess technically this maybe could have been a kitchen flooring, like a red and white checkered tile or green and white checkered tile, but to me this pretty much screams outdoor porch. So the tile guy is here because he's been working on the bathroom, and he says this is definitely asbestos tile. Now, before you guys get all up in your business about asbestos, the reason it's not harmful as long as it's being handled carefully, and we're not ripping up the whole floor for that reason. So we're going to go ahead and put a piece of plywood over this, cover it all back up so it's perfectly safe and to code. This is all per the New York State health codes. And then they're going to put some of that shiny material on top of the linoleum and put the new floor on top of here. This is what they're going to put underneath the new floor in the kitchen, and it is both squishy and it has a little bit of heat insulation and also a moisture barrier. And so this is sticky here, and so they'll just put this sticky side down on the floor, and that'll go under the new flooring. We've got several rolls of it here. Now eventually, in a perfect world, we would love to strip it all the way down to the original floor and redo the floor, and we might do that in the future, but right now this is what's there. So this is the linoleum layer 1, and then this is the older layer 2 beneath it. We have been lamenting with the crew that's out here today, again, that we can't leave this as a door because everybody's found it really convenient, especially because they've been using it to chuck out all of the insulation. So this is all the insulation that was up in the rafters of the kitchen, and they've just been able to chuck it out the door. And then when they're done with the septic system, which is under construction over here, the crew will be able to get in here with the skid loader and just load that all up in the bucket and take it to the dumpster. So this door is mighty handy. I wish we could keep it, but alas, we cannot. The other thing that we've been talking about today is the fridge. Peter would like to save the fridge. It's a huge fridge. It's much wider than your kind of standard generic model. The problem is we don't actually know if the fridge is functional, because on previous walkthroughs before we bought the house, the power was on to the junction to the breaker box but turned off at the breaker box, and so we have not been able to even know if this heats and cools. The stuff you see here on the floor, Peter actually opened this. I'm not going to open this because I have a squeamish stomach, but the inside of this is gross and needs to be filled out. The problem is that it's too wide with the doors on to fit it out through the doors, because the original plan was to take it out, put some bleach in a bleach and water solution in a pressure washer line and pressure wash it and clean it out. The problem is that none of the doorways are wide enough to take it out with the front doors on. So whether we test it and it works and we keep it, or whether we have to get rid of it, it's still too big to go out in its current condition with the front doors on. And so what James's crew is going to do is at least plug it in and see, does it even heat and cool? Because if it does, it might be worth taking the doors off and taking it out and trying to clean it out. But if it definitely doesn't heat and cool, if it doesn't cool and freeze, then it's not worth saving at all, right? And then we don't even have to worry about getting it out in one piece. Then they can just take a saw to it and cut it up into pieces. So that's the plan at the moment. Other really exciting part of being out on the property today is seeing the progress on the septic system. So let's head outside and we'll start with what the septic system looked like at the end of the day, and then we'll flash back to the work in progress that got us to the end of day shot. So 1 week in, this is what the sand trap portion looks like. Technically, this wasn't started a week ago. Technically, they started digging the pit for the septic tank a week ago. So a week into this adventure, and we have the septic tank in and the sand pit somewhat in. Definitely slopes down in this direction, which I think is the idea, and I think they'll be back tomorrow, they said, to finish, assuming that the rain doesn't get too crazy balls. So, and I think they told James they're going to put something like 20 truckloads of gravel in the leach field that's going out that direction. It's the world's biggest sandbox, at least that I've ever been in, that was on my own personal property. And even though I know that the sand is that gritty, just from rock sand and not the really fine, smooth beach sand, part of me wants to get in there and play. But they were spending a lot of time raking and leveling it in both directions, so I'm not going to mess with their work, although part of me really, really wants to play in my very own sandbox, even if it's for a short amount of time. And this is our septic system in progress. So that's where it comes out of the house. This is the initial trench. There is our huge septic tank. And then right there is where the pipe goes out and follows the trench along there and comes out just on the other side of that dirt mound into the sand trap. And I see they've started where the sand trap will go into the leach field, but I don't believe that they have done anything with the leach field at present. The sand pit is underway. This is the middle stage of the septic system, and it looks pretty much like a big sandbox. There is a huge pile of dirt over there that is a little bit taller than I am. I'm 6 feet, so I assume that that's maybe, or 5 feet, sorry, I'm not 6 feet, I'm 5 feet too, so I assume that's maybe 6 feet. The edge of our driveway has been completely obliterated under a construction zone, but we're told it will be put back, and then they've got some big gravel there, and then they've got some of this here, which is also what's in the trench. This is the sand itself. It's kind of a real gritty sand. If you've ever been on a beach that's more rock than actually soft sand, that's what that is. And that is what they are putting here in the trench. Here is the pile of pipes that are waiting to go into the sand trap, and I assume the leach field. I assume that's what these with the perforated holes are. Pipe has been acquired. It's being laid. And oh, we're checking to see if it's level. Interesting. And is it level both ways, is the question? Yes, is the question. Neat. The guys are leveling out the sand, and this is the trench that leads into the leach field, and they have actually done a little bit of work out here. I don't know if it'll show up well on screen, but they have come in here and leveled this a great deal, and stumps that were on the back of this cleared out space have been pulled out and removed. Looks like maybe they were thrown over there, which is fine. And then this has been, at least initially, kind of graded and leveled a little bit, so there's definitely a ridge running down here. So you can see that some work has been done. I apologize for the darkness, but we don't have any electric on in the house. Not that it would matter if we did, because there's no light in here yet. But look, we have a bathroom, we have a wall, we have another wall, we have a door and a door frame. So they took off all the old lath and plaster that was here, and they took off the crappy framing. And James, can I walk on the bathroom floor?
Oh yeah, it's all secured.
Okay.
So, like,
they have framed this in with all new timber. This is all new timber, so they took out all the old timber that wasn't framed in here appropriately anyway. After a lengthy, what I call toilet Tetris adventure, this bathroom is too small to be currently up to code bathroom. The reason we're able to get away with it is because it was existing construction, and so we're able to use what was here. But this surround is so huge. Now, we don't want a shower surround this huge, to be honest with you, but this is an expensive shower surround, and we don't have the money to buy something less expensive. So this takes up an entire, almost half of the room. And so after some toilet Tetris and some moving things around, we're going to have him take this big vanity back, and we're going to have something small in the corner so that there's a little bit more leg room in here. It's going to be a pretty tight fit, as you guys can see, between the toilet and the vanity, even if we get a smaller vanity and put it in the corner. But that's okay. I mean, there's not that much room here, and you have to leave, a lot of room for the door to swing. So the shower head will go here where the light is, and then we can put, when this wall is framed in, we'll put towel racks over here, and maybe, some simple shelves for like a medicine chest or something, or we'll just put those maybe out here in the hallway or in the pantry across the way. So this is the view now from the south door. This is the door that you come in off the porch. This is probably the door we'll be using the most often because it's the closest to the driveway. And then you'll have an actual wall here and a bathroom on the other side. And they've got the support beam in here. One of the things that they had to do because of the amount of mortar that was used to mortar the shower surround in place is that they've actually now had to reinforce this wall. So this will eventually become a real pillar, but at the moment that is the pillar. And look, they've cleaned up in here. Sorry, the lighting is a little weird. There we go. They cleaned up in here so it's a little bit easier to walk around. But yeah, you walk in, and instead of being able to just see all the way through to the stairwell, there's now this big visual block, which is the bathroom, and it's really exciting. It makes this room feel so much smaller, to be honest with you. I mean, it's more of a regular sized room now, which it was always meant to be, but what a difference it makes. I'm finding it's one thing to perceive of things in your brain and then another thing to see them in person. Maybe that gets better with practice. I find that sometimes I am envisioning things quite well. Sometimes there's more space, sometimes there's less. This, I think, is one of those things where it actually makes the space feel smaller than I had anticipated. And it will feel smaller still, I imagine, when there's a stove here. But this is meant to be the sitting room. It's meant to be small and cozy. And so that's what will make it. Last update for today is where the drain is going to go. So they've mapped out, Jeff has mapped out up here where the French drain is going to go and labeled it drain. So this white line here going off that way is the drain, and then this line here going off that way will be the drain. And happily, this is just on the outside of that line, so it should be fine. And if that electrical cord can be found that we assume is there but don't know is there, we're going to see if James can fix up that pole. I'm not too worried about them digging here because right now there's no power to the house. We had an incident with the power meter that connects the line from the house to the house itself. And so the electric company actually came out on Saturday and took the line down from the house and shut off the power of the pole. So right now there's no power at all here except what's being generated by the generator. So yeah, it's really exciting to see the bathroom being framed in and usable. And I really actually like seeing that green and white tiled floor. Every time we discover more details about the house, I get really excited because, again, we're trying to put together a puzzle of who did what and when and why and how. And it's interesting to know that the laminate floor in the kitchen was put on over the 1950s floor. So that gives us some kind of rough timeline to work from. So that's it for today. Thank you very, very much for hanging out with me today. There should be a lot of changes when we're here. Hopefully this rain doesn't delay the rest of the septic system too much. The rain is done. They can go back to working on the outside. But for now, this week with the rain in anyway, they're going to be working on the inside. So I look forward to sharing with you the transformation next week and to see what we're restoring when I see you next. Bye for now.